we are going across the entire NFL, previewing all 32 teams, and we're starting from the team that won the Super Bowl down to the team that earned the first overall pick. And today we are doing the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I immediately know just based off of knowing each other that this sounds like something that we're going to be in disagreement with probably this episode. But ultimately what it comes down to is Mike Tomlin was in Pittsburgh for almost 2 decades. I think it was 19 total years, never had a losing season. Over the last 10 years or so, the last decade, Pittsburgh has been in purgatory, essentially, where they have never taken the time to rebuild this roster. And after 19 years and a decade of not winning a playoff game and doing anything meaningful throughout the season, Mike Tomlin finally mutually parts ways with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they bring in Mike McCarthy as their head coach for the 2026 season. My first thing that I kind of want to touch on here is this is a downgrade. I know that like people seem to feel as if maybe Tomlin overstayed his welcome or whatever, but even when you go back to the post-game presser and like the media, what everybody said after Tomlin kind of let the team know that he was done, like Rodgers was crying. Rodgers went on this offseason to continue to talk about how Tomlin kind of reinvigorated his love for football again, and that's why he came back to Pittsburgh. It seemed like the guys within the locker room still really enjoyed Mike Tomlin. It seems like maybe the fan base was a little worn out by him. And I think that it can't be stated enough that even though people might feel differently about this, this is a downgrade from what you had with Mike Tomlin as your head coach to bringing in Mike McCarthy. And the reason I say that is this is going to be Mike McCarthy's last head coaching job. I don't think that that's like a hot take by any stretch of the imagination.
Not at all.
And the reason why it didn't work out in Dallas is because the game has kind of passed him by a little bit. We've seen it with Belichick. We've seen it with a lot of these head coaches who were dominant and the gurus of offense at some point. Andy Reid is a really good example of this right now. We're watching it in real time. And Mike McCarthy is just from that same generation of coach. And I think that what I'm most concerned about is, one, we're going to get into the roster and stuff like that and talk about, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is so unbearably washed. It's incredible. The fact that anybody can tuck themselves into him in 2026 is like laughable to me. But on top of it, what this offense actually is going to be able to accomplish with Mike McCarthy at the helm in a tough division. And I just feel like, although on paper they did upgrade on paper, I still don't feel strongly about any of their weapons on offense. I think their offensive line will be better, but I think that their quarterback stinks. I think their running back room is questionable and has a ton of question marks. And I think that their wide receiving room is also a ton of question marks as well. So I just said a lot, obviously. So just piggyback off me a little bit on what you think about the Steelers. And I guess the first question I'll ask is, am I wrong to feel as if this is a downgrade at the head coaching position?
Before I answer that, I at least want to say that the one thing that you mentioned was the players and what it seemed to be like their love for Mike Tomlin. That seems to be like the narrative going around from what I've heard is like the players all across the league like love Mike Tomlin, and it seems like he's like an extremely respected guy. I mean, you don't find yourself as an NFL head coach for that long if people don't like you and if you don't do a decent enough job. It was just probably time for them to part ways, meaning the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. This probably needed to happen a few years ago. I think it kind of got to the point where like the Mike Tomlin era of the Pittsburgh Steelers just plateaued, and it was never going to get over that hump. It was never going to realistically get any better than a first round playoff exit year in and year out. And I understand the fans' frustration as far as the way that the the Steelers have approached the roster and more specifically the quarterback position and just the amount of like, can we finally get a guy that is going to maybe be the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers? And they just haven't had that in a long time. I still don't know if their quarterback of the future is even on this roster. I would lean probably not.
I don't
know. As far as
Drew Aller was out 3 hours before pregame today, though, so he could be the future.
That matters.
Yeah, it matters a ton. Go ahead.
He was lining he was putting the paint down on the grass.
Yeah.
As far as the coaching situation goes, going from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy, I think it's probably lateral at this point. I don't really think like when we first talked about this, I remember over the summer whenever it was announced that I believe what we said is that Mike McCarthy is still a decent head coach, but like this move made no sense from the perspective of like, why wouldn't you try to find somebody that can be the long-term solution at your head coaching position if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers? It feels like the front office of the Steelers are very set in the 2010s, and they just can't get that color lens, the 2010 colored lens, away from their eyes when they're making the decision at two of the most important positions on an NFL team, i.e. the quarterback and the head coach. And that's going to continue to be their Achilles heel until those two positions are probably going to continue to be the Achilles heel for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unless they just get so undeniably good everywhere else, I think those are going to be two things that are going to be an issue probably for this season. Now, as far as the roster goes, they did bring in a decent amount of like pieces that I liked personally. I just don't know what, like, if you're the Steelers organization, what are you realistically expecting from the quarterback position that putting these guys around him are going to get you further than a first round exit? And I don't know
all of the moves,
how to answer that.
All the moves that they made this offseason was like, you know how they lost 30-6 to the Buffalo Bills in the first round of the playoffs?
To the Texans.
The Texans. It's like they want to lose 30-14 now instead. They're
just so old.
It just doesn't make any. They're old. They're slow. I think that like, I just don't. Again, I think that even their best player, like if you look at like TJ Watt has significantly regressed. Excuse me. So like last year, there was like a stretch of like a month where he like didn't even record a stat. It's like, he's
also hurt every other week. So
that is true. He has health problems. I guess where I'm at with all of this is I'm just fading the Steelers completely, and that's fine. Everybody could be like, well, they upgraded, they might be better. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Ravens will be better. I think that the Browns are they always cause everybody in that division fits for whatever reason that is. I have no idea why. It could be me playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns and they will somehow beat the Ravens and the Steelers. Like, it makes no sense. And I think that, again, I mean, Joe Burrow's health is always a question, but you would have to think that the Bengals will be somewhat better this year.
They better be.
Yeah, they better be. So it just comes down to all of that, where I just like pretty much, like, I like the Bengals and the Ravens way more than I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't sit here and view any of the moves that they made on the offensive side of the football as like that insane. The Colts let Michael Pittman Jr. walk for literally nothing. Why is that? I don't think Michael Pittman Jr. has had some flashes of like decent seasons, but I think that he's gotten worse every single year since being a pro. And you go ahead to DK Metcalf. I can talk ad nauseum about DK Metcalf, and I have forever. He is the most overrated number one receiver in the entire NFL. He is a big body bully who doesn't like to bully and isn't a red zone threat in any way, shape, form, which makes zero sense. And then I'm going to go back to the backfield as well. Jaylen Warren's a decent player, but why are they always trying to replace him? It feels like, why is there always another running back in that room with him? And you go out and you sign Rico Dowdle to a deal who was like a splash in a bucket last year, who's been decent at every place that he's been, but he's not like an eye popping talent changer at running back. And then really what it comes down to is this quarterback position. Ever since the year when me and you were like, the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl, this is Tom Brady to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he walks out week one or not even week one, on the first drive and tears his Achilles. Since that day, I have vowed to myself to just fade Aaron Rodgers, ignore the teams that he's on. He's annoying as shit. He is a pretentious asshole. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else. And it's just, I'm good on him, like, moving forward. And I don't think that what he is at this point in his career does anything for any football team in the entire NFL. So I'm going to fade the fact that they aren't going to be able to figure it out on offense, because as we talked about plenty of times, Rodgers just doesn't like to go under center, and the entire league is moving towards going under center. So if we're just going to run back the same quote unquote Aaron Rodgers style of offense that we've seen him try to implement in every single place that he's left since LaFleur finally lit a fire under his ass and won him back-to-back MVPs, ever since that, he has tried to implement the Aaron Rodgers system in New York and Pittsburgh, and they have had bottom third offenses every single year. So I don't think anything that they have done this offseason makes me feel any differently that they are going to be any better on offense moving forward. I think that their running game could be decent because I think that the offensive line has gotten better, but I don't love that. I don't think this passing game is going to be any good in any way, shape, or form.
I think coming into this, I told you at one point that I was like trying to work through the process of thinking that the Steelers could win this division and convincing myself that they could. And
they could win the division. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you before you continue. I'm just questioning on the fact I'm not accepting the Steelers as a real threat. Okay, cool. They can win 9 games and call it a day. If you're in the playoffs, you're like, please God, we match
give
up
me
with
the Steelers. Yes,
because
100%.
It's pretty much a first round.
Well, there is a world, and I think it would have to this world would require the Ravens just being completely unable to move the football on offense, but I think that their defense is going to be nasty. And then the Bengals having just Joe Burrow getting injured again in order for the Steelers to win this division. I think that they would need to have a lot go right for them. I think this is the same old Pittsburgh Steelers that we've seen for the last however many years. I think that, and this feels just like we're running the tape back from like every other year that we talk about the Steelers, but like, it's true. I mean, I think that they upgraded in the backfield. I like Rico Dowdle, and I like Jaylen Warren combined. I like that running back room, but that's not a running back room that I'm like, yeah, that's one of the best in the NFL. I think it's better than it was last year. I don't think either one of those guys are necessarily like 3 down guys. I could be wrong once we see Rico Dowdle maybe get a full season. But at the same time, it seems like the Steelers really like Jaylen Warren a lot. And I think he can do some good things in the receiving game for them, but I don't know what this is going to look like. I think it's probably going to be like a tandem running back situation. Otherwise they wouldn't have given Rico Dowdle that type of contract. At wide receiver, I think Pittman is an upgrade as to what they had, but barely. Yeah. Because the bar was not that high to begin with. I agree. I think the offensive line is going to be better. I think the defense has a chance to actually be a very good unit if everybody stays healthy. They're just all on the older side of things. They have some decent players, but they're all like right past their prime. to the point where like they still have a little bit left. They're not going to be able to get you that 100% or even that 90 maybe, but I think they can probably get around like the 80 to 85. But I still think they will probably put together a decent defense for this season. And that is why I think that this could end up ultimately being a playoff team, a wild card team at that, like usual. But the quarterback position and Aaron Rodgers in year whatever, however many years he's been in the NFL, he is very, like you said, stuck in his ways with how he wants to play quarterback, doesn't go under center, and he just doesn't have it like he used to. You'll see a flash here and there that will bring you back in for a split second that'll maybe make you believe like, hey, there's old Rodgers, and maybe if we can get that version of him, this is a much better team than everybody thinks. I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be is able to consistently bring those flashes out on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, I don't think he has any flat. I maybe I'm watching the wrong games. I don't know. There's no flashes left. Rodgers stinks. Rodgers is no good at football anymore. It's like not a hot take. I'm not like trying to like dance on his grave or anything like that. It's just, if your option, this comes down to the front office. This comes down to the ownership group more than anything else. First off, the George Pickens trading away George Pickens for a 3rd round pick and then trading for DK Metcalf to sign him to a $150 million deal should be a fireable offense. That is one of the worst moves of all time, and I don't think people realize how bad it is yet until obviously he goes out and until Pickens goes out this year, balls again, and then gets a big contract.
To be fair, the Pickens was never going to reach the level that he is capable of getting to in Pittsburgh.
Okay, but if you, objectively speaking, would you want a?
Oh no, it's bad. It's bad. I'm not validating it.
Would you want a 23-year-old wide receiver who is ascending, or a receiver approaching his 30s who's descending? That's the
right.
argument. And on top of it as well is you have to what was I saying? I was talking about the front office. Like, on top of it, like, to go ahead and be like, all right, yep, like, this is it. We're done with Mike McCarthy. Sorry, you're like moving your mic and it's like so fucking loud.
Sorry.
And you like, all right, we're gonna fire McCarthy, or we're gonna be done with Mike Tomlin. We're gonna quote unquote mutually part ways. That was your opportunity to legitimately start fresh. Go and hire a younger head coach. Just do something different. Don't hire like a defensive head coach. Like, don't hire an older head coach. Like, let's bring like the Cardinals did, for example. Let's bring Matt LaFleur in. Like, the Cardinals go ahead and they fire Jonathan Gannon, and then you look at the landscape and it's like, okay, like, we can't hire another quote unquote defensive guru. We're going to go out and hire Matt LaFleur. Their inability to like think outside of the box and bring somebody in younger who could like you said, be the long-term answer at head coach. What happens if they just make a big splash and they're really good? It's like, all right, well, we have our next head coach for the next 20 years. Instead, you bring in a 60-year-old man who's way past his prime, who it didn't work out in Green Bay. It didn't work out in Dallas. And we already know that it's not going to work out in Pittsburgh. It's not like something's miraculously is going to change. And then the last side of all of this is, why are you so scared to move on from your guys and get some value for them? Myles Garrett got traded this offseason. So many big AJ Brown got traded this off. There's so many big players who are making big time money who get moved in the NFL now. The Steelers have been sitting on TJ Watt forever and won't get rid of him. It's like, why? But you'll go ahead and you'll get rid of George Pickens, who was an ascending, one of the best, bright, upcoming wide receivers in the NFL, who was like making ridiculous catches on a week-to-week basis. It's like, all right, well, maybe if we fed him 120 targets, like, he could be like a real deal wide receiver, but they had nobody able to get him that. It was Kenny Pickett. So you just have to, and I'm not faulting anybody else. Like, I just think that the Pittsburgh Steelers fans should just be like ultra mad at the front office, ultra mad at the ownership group, and also sit here and realize like they don't have a fucking shot this season. And if you think that anything has changed from this year to last year, like I can't help you. Yeah, there's some new faces, there's some new people in there, and maybe they might score more than 17 points one week or so, but it's not anything that is going to be glamorous or flashy in any way, shape, or form. And for Rodgers to continue to hold these franchises just like under hostage, and again, that's you got to blame the Pittsburgh Steelers for this. Like it's sad. It's like move on from Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to win a playoff game this year, and then you guys have to sit there and have like a realistic conversation where, what if they were in on the Kyler Murray sweepstakes? What if you made all of these moves this past season, and then bring in Kyler Murray as well? It's like, okay, what if you hired a young, flashy head coach and brought in Kyler Murray as the Pittsburgh Steelers? That feels new. That feels different. That feels like, okay, we're actually going to try something and let's see if it works. What happens?
That's like an electric bolt of energy throughout the fan base. That's like, holy shit, like we finally have somebody that's not 45 years old playing quarterback and or crippled, and we actually can move the football.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's actually astonishing when you said over the offseason, you're like, I love every move the Steelers made, and I like think that they're gonna like be good this season. I was like, what world am I living in? Because I just don't love anything that they did, because instead of being bold and actually trying to like shake things up and be different, they did the exact same thing as they always did. And I truly think letting Tomlin walk out of the door for McCarthy is such a massive downgrade that we will see this upcoming season from like a culture perspective, from just flat the defensive scheme perspective, being able to put out some high level defenses. And I like the defensive coordinator that they hired, but it's not Mike McCarthy at the end. It's not Mike Tomlin at the end of the day. So I don't know. I'm not high on this team. I'm actually going to fade the Pittsburgh Steelers in totality. And I think that this is going to be a season where they win like 5 or 6 games. And just, we're really going to watch. Obviously, I think Aaron Rodgers is just not going to be any good. And we're finally going to see the wheels fall off in Pittsburgh, because it's all there. Like the signs that this is going to fail is all there. It's just about watching it play out this season. And to let your legendary head coach walk out of the door, who held all of this together and had this roster playing way above expectation every single year, I think it's safe to say that like them even making it to the playoffs year after year with some of the situations that they've been in was pretty impressive.
So I'm looking at Mike McCarthy's contract here. I'm trying to pull it up. It's not cooperating with me, but it looks like it was a 5-year deal that runs through the 2030 season. I don't know if the Steelers have a 5-year deal. Either way, my point being is, if I am a fan and I ask the Pittsburgh Steelers front office, like, do you legitimately think Mike McCarthy is going to be the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next 5 years? And they say yes. You ask, what is your plan after Mike McCarthy? Because in 5 years, Mike McCarthy is going to be 68 years old. And whether you like it or not, that's probably going to be the age that he retires. This is, like we said at the very beginning of this is probably going to be the last contract that Mike McCarthy has as an NFL head coach, and in a 5-year span. So if you're looking at this, as a fan and as a front office member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, fan, be pissed off all that you want, because I'm thinking about it like, why the fuck would we hire this guy for 5 years when we could look and take a shot on somebody else? And this isn't even a guaranteed thing that he's going to be there for 5 years.
Yeah, I think that's I think you're being like generous saying that. Honestly.
Right, I am. I am being generous. Like, I'm looking at it as like, we could see him out of there in 2 to 3 years. And at that point, you might as well have hired somebody younger and taken a shot on somebody, because odds are if they're bad too, they're out in 2 to 3 years. And you're right back to square one, trying to find a new head coach and trying to figure out this head coaching situation, and you have to take a shot on somebody else. The Steelers just care too much about the stability of going 9-8 and being a first round exit year in and year out. And that will continue to be their Achilles heel as long as I don't know who is the owner. I don't know who makes the decision at the end of the day as far as the head coach, the Rooney family. As long as they're in charge, I think that's just going to continue to be the blueprint for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is they're going to hire older, seasoned guys to be the head coach. I don't think they want to take a shot at any point. I think they're just scared. I think they're afraid. So they like knowing that the Steelers can go 9-8, make the playoffs, and that people will be in the stands for the playoff games, because those fans are extremely loyal. They love the Pittsburgh Steelers. And as long as the Steelers are playing, there's going to be fans, especially in a playoff game. As long as the Steelers are playing, there's going to be fans in the building.
So do you have anything else before you give your final prediction of what you think that they're going to be in the 2026 season?
I don't. I mean, I like the offseason acquisitions. I don't think McCarthy is a bad head coach. I want to make that point clear. I just don't think that this was the right move for the Steelers organization. I think that they're almost forcing themselves to have to find another head coach in a few years. And I think this could have been potentially avoided if they would have done a better job throughout the hiring process.
So what is your prediction for them this year?
I sound like a broken record, but this is going to be a 9-8 team unless some things happen and some injuries pop up within the AFC North. I think that they probably are a 9-8 team and are a first round exit in the playoffs.
I am going polar opposite. I'm picking them to win 5 or 6 games. I think they miss the playoffs. I think that, like I said, downgrades in the coaching staff. Just you had somebody there who was able to have this, be able to lead the stability that you talk about year in and year out. I just don't love that is gone. So I'm going to fade against it. So I do think that the Steelers take a significant step back this upcoming season.
I just spit it. Good girl.